Hello, welcome to Jaden's videos, and today I am here with my first review of a Spirit Halloween 2021 animatronic. And this one is on one of the props that I got at Flagship. I got Baphomet along with this guy, but we had to ship him back because he couldn't fit on the plane, so he should be coming today. But this right here is W.Raith. Now, I'm a big fan of this prop. I think it's definitely in my top 10 of the year. He's really cool. I know that he's probably, in my opinion, I think he's the most underrated prop of the year. I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of him, but I really like him for multiple reasons. One, I just love classic Halloween stuff, and this is a classic ghost. This is what you think of when you think of a classic Halloween ghost. Yet he's not cheesy and kid-friendly. They actually made sure to still make him creepy with his awesome animation and as well as his great creepy audio. So he is really cool, but another reason is I'm kind of biased towards Ghost in particular this year. I'm already usually pretty biased towards Ghost props, but this year in particular, it's a little extra because I'm doing a Haunted Mansion themed haunt this year, and so I think he works perfectly, and I just had to get him. Now, this is one of the in-box props for 2021, so you will not be seeing this guy set up in stores unless it is as a filler or placeholder prop. But if you do, I think you're definitely lucky because he's definitely a really cool prop and I really like him. We're going to get right into it. First, I want to mention before I get closer and show you, there's not really any details to show you because he's just a sheet ghost, but I am going to show you a few things about him close up. But before that, I just want to mention how tall this guy is because he's actually a really tall prop at his full height. Now, when he's not at his full height, he could be kind of small, but I think that's a cool thing about him is because his height changes so drastically. I think that's cool. I really like when props rise up taller than you think that they will. This is around his full height, give or take 1 or 2 inches, and it's pretty big. I would say it is about 6 feet, maybe a little bit taller than 6 feet, but he is a pretty big prop. I was actually really shocked that he's this big. I didn't expect that at all, but he is a pretty big prop. And then when he's at his normal height, before he rises up to this height, he's about 5.5 feet as stated on the box, and I would say that is about accurate. And he goes up to about, this is either 6 or 6'1". It's close enough to 6 feet to really say he's 6 feet, but he definitely is a lot bigger. Now, one cool thing about him is his arms are posable, so you can make him look even bigger than this. I have him this big because it just works best where I have him positioned in my room, but on Halloween night, I definitely intend to make him a lot bigger looking. But he is a pretty large prop, much larger than I thought he would be. But we're going to get closer, and I'm just going to point out a couple things to you. Obviously, not really anything to talk about with detail, but I do want to point out a couple things with the material, the cloth, all that stuff. So here's his head up here, and this is just a complete, right here, this is basically a cylindrical thing, and it's hard plastic, and it's got a light inside of it. It's literally just, I would assume it's translucent. I haven't lifted up the thing to look under there, but I would assume it's just translucent. He's got his kind of shoulder frame here. These are foam arms, and within those arms are some lights, or actually the lights could be within the sheet. I didn't really lift that up to check because you don't really have to during the setup. But he's got lights in the head and in the arms is one thing to note. Now, I'm not a big fan of the light in the arms, but I really like the other lights. Though I do like that they put lights in the arms. I would have preferred if they were a simple light strand, but instead they're little lights, and so it looks kind of off. But it's not really a big deal. Now, over on top of his actual sheet, you first have this creepy cloth, which is a completely white creepy cloth. You actually have 2 layers of it. You have this one right here, and then you have another one, which I'm going to pan down to, which kind of goes all the way down to the base, and that's this one right here. And then you also have some creepy cloth draped over his arms. I think that looks really cool instead of just being a complete white sheet. I really like how they added the creepy cloth. I think it gives a lot more depth and a cool look. You also move down to the arms here, and you can see they've kind of got that ghostly thing with the ripped sheet here at the arms. Obviously, the base there just kind of like a plain sheet there. Now, one thing I might show in this review is the mechanism, because it's very strange and it gave me some problems. I thought he was broken, so I'm definitely going to get down there and show you that so you know what I'm talking about. Now what I want you to focus on here, and I usually wouldn't show this in reviews of props, but I think this is an important thing to note about him. I want you to notice, well, first off, we have the actual mech up here, which connects with a spring, and it basically allows him to move up and down. But what I want you to notice here is the control box instead of the mech. Now the mech, one thing I want to note about it is that make sure no wires and stuff get tangled in there, because I did have a bit of an issue with that. But one thing I want to mention about the control box here, just so no one else has any other problems, because I'm pretty sure I'm the first person to do a review on this prop, it is very, very likely that you might set this upside down when you first turn him on, and that causes him to start clicking as it can't rotate the full way around. This piece right here rotates, and that's connected to this. And so if you set this whole piece upside down, it will put strain on the motor, and eventually the motor could break or the gears could split. So I was lucky enough to be able to catch it and unplug it fast enough before that could happen. But please keep that in mind. If you hear clicking, turn it off right away. But it definitely is likely that you could do that if you're not careful, because the issue is this thing, you wouldn't think it would be that close to the ground. The control box is literally almost touching the ground. It's like 1 centimeter off, and so it's very likely that you could put it upside down, because that way the control box is up here and it looks more reasonable that way. It just looks like it would make more sense. So I made that mistake. I've heard that people have made that mistake with Lady of the Grave, which has the same mechanism as him. So that is something to note. Please make sure you have this about 1 centimeter off the ground, or else it will be upside down, and then this mech here will not be able to make its full rotation, and he could possibly break. Now the capabilities on this prop are basically the same as any modern prop, which I mentioned, I'm sure I've mentioned it many times before, but I love the new capabilities they add to props. It just definitely makes them a lot more haunt friendly. The volume control, the external speaker jack, he's got all that. He's got the step pad, of course. He's also got the multi-prop remote, and his settings are kind of weird because he does not have a constant on, which is kind of upsetting, though he is techie, and I'm not really sure if they do that. I haven't gotten a techie prop in quite a few years, but I'm not really sure if other ones do that. I would assume not if he doesn't, but he doesn't have a constant on, but he does have an on option, and that's just sound activated. But it's a little upsetting because I think a prop like this definitely should have a constant mode, just because of his animation and the way that he is. I feel like a constant mode would really benefit for him, but unfortunately he doesn't have one. But overall, still a really cool prop. He's got a really nice high quality speaker. It's very loud. I don't recommend having it at the full volume or else it'll blow, but he is a really cool prop, and I think I've covered basically everything there is to cover other than his animation, and then I will discuss a few more things about him. I will get out of the way a little complaint I have, but other than that, let's get this guy in action. So now you can see him at a little bit of a smaller height, but there he is. Now one thing I do want to mention is, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but I didn't. He is $169.99, which in my opinion is a bit overpriced for this guy. As much as I love him, I think he definitely could have been cheaper since he's just a sheet. He does have a really cool mech. He's got 2 animations there. His arms move and he rises up and down. It's a really cool animation, and I hope they keep making more ghosts like this. But I do think he's a bit overpriced just for that, because you're getting that, lights, and a sheet. I think $150 would be better. personally, or maybe even 140. As low as that, I think would be a lot better. But he does get pretty tall, but I do think that price could have been a bit cheaper, but if you like him, hey, go for it. Another issue is I don't really like the lights on the arms. A lot of people have compared them to Christmas lights, how they're like little dots and you can see where the lights are. It's not a big deal, honestly, and I don't want to deduct any points from the prop for that, because you can literally just unplug them and then there will be no problem at all. But that is something to note about that, but obviously you can just unplug those. I think the other lights look really good. The light at the base shining up looks great, and so does the light in the head, because you can't really see where it's coming from. It just gives a nice glow. I'm just not too big of a fan of the lights on the arms, but he is a really cool prop overall with some great animation and everything. So overall, personally, I'd give this prop an 8 out of 10. I think he's a really cool one. Definitely in my top 10 of the year. Like I said, I'm a little bit biased towards it, but if you're into this type of thing, I think you should definitely consider picking it up, because we haven't seen a classic sheet ghost in a very long time, and I don't know the next time we will get one. And in my opinion, I think this is probably the best one they've ever made, because most of the other classic sheet ghosts we have gotten either have red eyes and stuff inside, which I'm really thinking about the hovering ghost, for example, which I do love the hovering ghost, but I think this one pulls it off better because he's just a lot more creepy. His moaning sounds are creepy. The overall look of the prop is a really creepy one. I think he definitely isn't trying to be kid friendly. He's trying to go with that vibe that the reason ghosts wore sheets in the first place is because it's supposed to be the sheet that the dead were buried in. And so I'd say he's definitely going for a lot more of the macabre vibe here than a more kid-friendly one. So I really like this guy. I think he's a really great prop, and if you're really into ghosts or sheet ghosts or classic Halloween or anything like that, I think you should consider getting this guy, because I personally think he's a great one. I hope you all enjoyed this review. Let me know what you think of W.Raith in the comments below, because he is one with quite a few mixed opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Keep howling at the moon, my werewolf.